They have to forgive each other, hug. It's a new day for your uncles. Imagine what it would be like. The Jubilee was amazing. Amazing thing. But why am I speaking about it now? Because, the Jubilee is something people think of the Jubilee and they think of, then if you think of Yom Kippur, it doesn't seem to go together. Doesn't seem to be. Yom Kippur is a day of fasting. Jubilee is a day of celebration, a year of celebration. Yom Kippur is about humbling yourself. Jubilee is about rejoicing. But the Jubilee is an amazing thing because look at the first verse there, Leviticus 25. Look at it again. Go to verse 9. Actually, go to verse 8. You are to count off 7 Sabbaths of years for yourselves, 7 times 7 years, so that you have the time of the 7 Sabbaths of years, namely 49 years. You shall then sound a ram's horn, or the Jubilee horn, abroad on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the Day of Atonement. You will sound a horn all throughout your land on the Day of Atonement. You got these two things together. You have the most solemn day, and you have the most joyous year all coming at the same time. Time of fasting, time of being blessed with all the blessings of God. Why? When man and God are reconciled, Yom Kippur, there is to be celebration. When sins are dealt with, atoned for, washed away, there is to be freedom, blessings, restoration. It all deals with us and God. Yom Kippur, that's why Yom Kippur ushers in the Jubilee. They're joined. You can't have those blessings of Jubilee without Yom Kippur. You can't have the blessings of reconciliation without the dealing with sin. You can't have the blessings of restoration without the dealing and washing away of sin. You can't have freedom without the dealing with sin. Sin is going to stop those blessings in your life. Without the blood of the sacrifice, no Jubilee. Now, you don't hear a lot of the Jubilee, about the Jubilee in the New Testament, but it doesn't seem to be there. If you ask most believers, is Yom Kippur in the New Testament? They'd say no. But that's part of the pattern. That this mystery that the spring holidays are known in the church because they were fulfilled. But the autumn holy days prophetically are yet to come, even though spiritually there's a fulfillment. So most believers know about Passover and Pentecost, or Shavuot. Those are spring. But the autumn days, trumpets, Yom Kippur, and tabernacles are more mysterious to the church, yet it's just as much a part of our faith in the New Covenant. Yom Kippur is woven throughout the New Testament. Every time you read about the offering of a sacrifice for everyone, a sacrifice for the sins of all, that's Yom Kippur. That's what Yom Kippur was foreshadowing. Only time that one sacrifice is offered for everyone. That's Yom Kippur. That's the gospel. That is Yom Kippur. Then you have the book of Hebrews. Turn to Hebrews for a moment. Hebrews 9, verse 7. But only the high priest entered into the inner room, and only once a year, and never without blood, which he offered for himself and for the sins of the people they committed in ignorance. What's he talking about? What's the writer talking about? He's talking about Yom Kippur, clearly. That's Yom Kippur. Verse 11, but when Messiah came as high priest of good things that are now already here or to come, he went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with human hands, that is to say, not a part of this creation. What's he talking about? Yom Kippur. But now he's talking about Jesus, Messiah, and Yom Kippur. Verse 12, he didn't enter by means of the blood of goats and calves, but he entered the most holy place, once and for all by his own blood, thus obtaining eternal redemption. Verse 14, how much more then will the blood of Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself unblemished to God, cleanse our consciousness from the acts that lead to death, that we may serve the living God. For Messiah didn't enter a chamber made with human hands, that was only a copy of the true. He entered heaven itself, now to appear for us in God's presence. Nor did he enter heaven to offer himself again and again by the way the high priest enters the most holy place every year with blood that's not his own. Otherwise, Messiah would have had to suffer many times since the creation of the world. But he has appeared once and for all at the culmination of the ages to do away with sin by the sacrifice of himself. What is this? clearly that whole chapter is clearly Yom Kippur. What it's saying is Yom Kippur is a foreshadow of Messiah. Messiah is Yom Kippur. Messiah is the Kippur, the atonement. I want to show you an amazing thing I saw. You wouldn't say, in the Hebrew, in Leviticus 16, verse 21, it speaks of the end of Yom Kippur when the high priest is laying his hands on the scapegoat. Verse 21 says, he is to lay both hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it all the iniquities, the transgressions of the Israelites, all their sins, and put them on the head of the goat. He shall send the goat away into the wilderness in the care of a ready man appointed for the task. So the final act of Yom Kippur, placing the sins of the nation on the head of the scapegoat. Notice there are three descriptions of what is put onto the scapegoat. 1, the word iniquity. 2, the word transgression. And 3, the word sin. In Hebrew, iniquity is the word avon. In Hebrew, the word for transgression is pesha, means to rebel or cross the line. And sin, hata'ah, sin. And I tried something, and I was amazed with what happened. I took this ancient mystery to the computer, and I took the words that are from that verse about what was placed on the scapegoat. Iniquity, transgression, and sin, which are all come in this one verse upon the final act of atonement on the scapegoat. And I also put in the word atonement, kippur or kaper. In Hebrew, so it's avon, pesha, hata'ah, and the word for atonement, the Day of Atonement, because it's all the Day of Atonement. And the search from all the verses in the Bible, the search engine took me to only one verse in the entire Bible that has all three that is put on the scapegoat and the word that is linked to Yom Kippur, which is when it all happened. What verse is it? It's Daniel 9, verse 24. Listen. 77s are decreed for your people in your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end of sin, to atone, kippur, for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and anoint the most holy. And it goes right in, then Mashiach shall come. What is this? This is the prophecy of Messiah coming to Jerusalem, and it says he's going to die, he's giving his life, and it's the only verse that matches in that way the verse of the scapegoat. Only appears in those two verses. To say that what is put on the scapegoat, those three things come up here with a word for atonement about Messiah coming to Jerusalem. All three words are about wiping away sin and iniquity. All those are about Kippur. In other words, Messiah, the entire Bible, one will bring you to the other. What is it saying? Messiah is the scapegoat who removes our sin, who deals with it, who makes atonement. That's Kippur. It's no accident for 2,000 years that children of Israel